Hey, everybody. We're back for another episode of Big Talk about Small Business. And I'm here with my partner and friend, Eric Howerton. How are you doing today?
Doing great, Mark. Thank you. It's good to be here.
It is. It's good to be out of the rain. It's a nasty day out there.
It's been cloudy for 2 weeks straight. So I'm ready for that sunshine.
Me too. We'll make the sunshine in here because
that's right.
We've got a great guest today in Rolf Wilkin. Rolf is a friend of mine, and Rolf is one of the most entrepreneurial people I know here in our area. He's the founder and owner of Eureka Pizza, which is a multi-store chain, no franchises, owns them all, and he is also...
It's been legendary. It's legendary pizza business in Northwest Arkansas, no doubt.
He's a PR master.
Absolutely.
He does things like offer to give away 1,000 pizzas if we beat Alabama or whatever that was.
We're going to beat those suckers soon.
Yeah. I mean, what a safe bet, though. Well, I mean, but anyway,
He was nervous a couple years ago.
I think you got in the Wall Street Journal on that one.
We did. We got on ESPN. No, it was fun.
From that contest?
Yeah, no doubt. That's cool.
And he didn't have to pay anything.
Dude, beautiful.
Made no pizzas.
That's called earned media.
It is.
Media. My favorite newspaper.
Rolf is a master of stuff like that. And anyway, his new venture is pop-up drink-through, which is a whole new concept that we'll get into in a minute. But Rolf, tell everybody a little bit about yourself. How did you get started in business? What was it that got you into entrepreneurship in the first place?
Well, Mark and Eric, it's awesome to be here. A lot of people accuse me of being a big talker, so I like big talk.
Well, that's good.
There we go.
I think I grew up hungry, right? Mm-hmm. So my family, we weren't destitute or poor, but, it just seemed like we couldn't do some things. I said, man, I want to be able to do a lot of things. And I think, like a lot of folks, you go into college not knowing the heck what you want. I think I wanted to be an engineer. I didn't know at all what that was. And that certainly wasn't for me. Oh, no, that would have been horrible, right? And I just fell into an entrepreneurial bunch, like, in my fraternity, really, in college. Uh-huh. And they were always just thinking of ways to make money because they were broke too. And I quickly realized, man, a job was no fun, and it was, limited income. So it seemed like being an entrepreneur was the way to go forward. So we started a Greek phone book that I like to say it's a predecessor to Facebook, right? That's how you found that special person, riding the bus to class was the Greek directory. And then we started a coupon book. And this was in Baton Rouge, and it was very competitive.
This is all in college when you're doing this.
All in college in the 80s, the late 80s. Uh-huh. And then I came up to Fayetteville in 1988 to visit my brother. And I went straight to the student library, and I checked out all the old student newspapers on microfiche. And I said, wow, there's a lot of people that advertise to students, and yet there's no coupon book and there's no Greek directory. And I said, man, I like the odds of being here better than just tripping over competitors in Baton Rouge. Plus, Fayetteville's a nice town, right?
Yeah, it's a cool place to be.
A little less humid, nice place, fresher air. So, I came up here in 88 with $500 in my pocket in a borrowed car.
Nice.
And I traded an ad with Sweetser Properties. Uh-huh. And I learned to use the word we a lot. So I said, we are doing this, and we need a summer sales office. And they said, well, we don't want to buy an ad, but we'll trade an apartment for the summer because I have lots of empty apartments. And I said, deal. Brilliant. So I had this 2-bedroom townhome. I think it was the nicest apartment I ever had. And I just went around and cold called. Uh-huh. And man, I try to stress to everybody, just get off your butt and do something.
That's right.
That's right. And still, I was talking to a software salesman the other day, and my rep for my point of sale software, he's a cold caller. This guy's from Boston. He lives in Boston. He knows like every restaurant in Northwest Arkansas. And he walks into everybody. And who does that anymore?
Right.
Not many.
Right. Nope.
So I cold called, and I got these publications off the ground. Ended up graduating from college while I commuted between Fayetteville and Baton Rouge, which is
that's
feet, right?
It's like 8 or 9 hour drive.
Oh, it is. And I had the speeding tickets to, I like to say there were citations for safely driving at a high rate of speed is another way to look at a speeding ticket, right?
So would you go to school and during the week and come back on the weekends to sell? Or
mainly it was selling in the summer and at Christmas break. So it worked out great to be a college student, elsewhere.
Yeah.
And so, I ended up graduating. I came back, and I was going to be this magnate of college publishing, and I branched out foolishly to Jonesboro and to Arkansas Tech.
The grounds.
Well, it's a long drive from here. I'd leave at 3 o'clock in the morning, and you'd get there like at 8:39, and you were too exhausted to sell.
You can't get there from here.
You can't get there. You still can't get there from here.
No good way to get there.
Sucks.
I don't know
Why is it so hard?
It's Tulane, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. So I know those towns well. So I was in Conway, what I call Conway Cache. It was Indian Gold back before there were the Red Wolves in Jonesboro. And then the Wonder Bucks down there at Arkansas Tech in Russellville. And then, I don't know, it was kind of a solitary business. I had an early Mac that was in this big foam Mac pack case that had a big strap on it.
With the screen built into the
the little 9-inch screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so then I had an early inkjet printer back when they were $1,000, and you were like, wow.
No kidding.
It could have been a $5,000 Apple laser writer, and this did the same thing, at a fraction of the cost. So I'd go up and set up like in the student union, and I would lay out my ads on my little Mac. And then I stumbled into the pizza business in Fayetteville. I went in to sell an ad to King Pizza, and they're like, we don't need an ad, we're shutting it down. And I encouraged them. I like to be an encourager. They ought to keep going, right? You're kidding me. You're next to the largest university in the state, and you're shutting a pizza business down?
Did J.B. Hayes still own it at that time?
No, he'd been out. Nathan Combs owned it.
Okay.
And he was running it very remotely, and as we all know, that's a tough way to run a business.
Yep.
And so I think the starting price was $40,000, and he quickly came down to $10,000. I offered him $7,000, and we did this cut the baby right down the middle at $8,500. And I was in the pizza business.
Wow. Where'd you get the $8,500, Rolf?
Well, the key is, a lot of people,
that was a lot.
They think they go to a bank, right?
Yeah.
And banks, they don't provide money. They provide liquidity, right? So if you have money, like real estate, they'll loan you money. But you got to get it from someone who loves you, quite frankly. I always tell startup young people. And so luckily, I had a dad that loved me, and he agreed to sign a $5,000 loan at the Bank of Fayetteville. And they believed in me, and they believed in an out-of-state guy's signature from Slidell, Louisiana.
And you had the $3,500?
I had a $3,500. I'm sure I stretched and scrimped and probably didn't pay a bill or two. Mm-hmm. And man, I found some old pizza magazines. I kind of came up with the name Eureka Pizza. I asked a girl about colors for stimulating hunger, and it turned out that teal, blue, and like a warm orange were tops. So I said, I'm going to use both. And worked on recipes. I called the American Institute of Baking.
I'm like, I'm getting all hungry, right? I'm really hungry.
That's right. Double hungry. I like that. But yeah, so I got a lot of advice from a guy, Tom Lehman, at the American Institute of Baking in Manhattan, Kansas. On our 25th anniversary, he wrote me a nice letter, and he said, Rolf, you were my first successful coaching client. And every afternoon in the spring of 92, the phone would ring out like, it's Rolf. And you would ask question after question after question.
Well, you're an inquisitive guy.
Yeah, and a lot of people, I always tell my kids, the only stupid question, right, is the one you don't ask.
Right, that's right.
And, pizza dough is tough. Yeast, it's a living organism, and, it's a time and temperature, and I think barometric pressure, it's a tricky thing, and I was really baffled by it. But, man, Tom, he was really leading expert on dough and pizza dough, and guy taught me right. I ended up going to one of his seminars, and that's when I met a fellow from Texas who was really successful promoting pizza. And so I quickly...
did he teach you how to make a lot of dough in the pizza business?
He did. Yeah, Tom taught me how to make literal dough, and then Ed taught me how to make figurative dough, but he was doing buy one, get two free down in Temple, Texas. And so I quickly hung out with him and made sure I kept a drink in our hands while we're up in Manhattan, which is a great college town if you're ever looking for a fun little place. And then I finagled my way into going to his shop in Temple and hanging out for a couple of days. And I drove back to Fayetteville, and I spent the summer scheming on how to kind of re-image Eureka Pizza and focus on carryout. And so I needed, to class the place up. And
I always said Rolf would just like buy one, get 5 free.
And 6 free. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to keep track, right?
So many deals. You were always on the radio. And
so we switched to that concept in August of 92. And our sales literally tripled when we did the buy one, get 2 free. And it just went through the roof.
Wow.
People were excited, and there were lines. And like, man, we're onto something here.
Students like cheap food. I mean, let's face it. And pizza they love. So
that's that's really my story in a nutshell. We've opened many stores. We've shut a few down, but man, so 31 years now, and life
stores
is good.
Got?
We have 8. And so
just in Northwest Arkansas area.
We're in Northwest Arkansas and in Fort Smith.
Okay,
but that really is probably the pop up. So your pizza's been great. So I've got a lovely wife who I met 24 years ago today.
Yes.
What are the odds of a guy from Arkansas meeting a girl from New Zealand in Fayetteville?
You were lucky.
I'm lucky, man. And my daughter just graduated from Fayetteville High last night.
Awesome.
And I got a 20-year-old son in computer science at the University of Arkansas. And then Got a very tall, strong, handsome son, Max, who's 17, and he's a junior at Fayetteville High. And so, yeah, I've been blessed beyond belief, but I kept thinking, what are my assets, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people have these moments, maybe kind of, I don't know if it's a midlife crisis, but, you kind of have these moments in your life, and you're saying, man, I've done well in some regards, but I'd like more.
Yeah.
And then I think I really started seeing Eureka Pizza. It really maybe wasn't the monetary asset that I longed for, but talk about the skills, the scars, the life's lessons you've learned. And one of my favorite author, Robert Ringer, he always called it a screw university, and that's where you really learn. And he goes, if you get your master's degree for screw you really got something.
Yep.
Well,
and I think I've learned a lot at screw you.
What I always liked about you is you do everything, okay? Like you said before, if you want to learn about a business, go in and paint the bathroom. I remember, but I was on campus here like a year or two ago, and Rolf's out there giving pizzas away on campus out of their location. You deliver pizzas sometimes.
You really got to do it also. So we've been on campus for 3 years. We're a contractor for Chartwell's.
Yeah.
And so we get a big line of people going up to the Bruff Common. Now it's 1020 Food Hall. It's like a food court. Well, they wanted us on campus really for late night food, but also to take some pressure off.
Yeah.
And they said, you really ought to just be out there talking it up. Well, that's hard to delegate, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't have that. So guess what?
That's what you did.
I'll do it.
Yeah.
And I've learned, man, it's just better to push yourself and not be scared of doing something. But yeah, I really believe you need to learn everything. And then of course, you need to learn to delegate after that. I've seen, and it's been, my challenge and a lot of entrepreneurs' challenges, you can't let go. But yeah, but I do believe you do something and then you delegate and move on.
Well, I think campaigning, right? Like, I mean, you're the greatest campaigner of the company. It's so hard to find anybody else that will campaign.
Yeah. Don't you love it, Eric, when somebody says, I need to hire like a salesman or a chief salesperson? I'm like, dude, you're the chief salesperson.
No kidding.
I don't care who you are, what the business is.
You better.
Right. Yeah, you can hire other salespeople, but yeah, if you're a wallflower and you can't get on an elevator and tell strangers about your business, tough.
What we used to say about Bruff before they had other operations in there like Starbucks and Eureka Pizza and Slim Chickens, we'd say Bruff going in and rough coming out. But anyway, I guess they finally decided to get rid of that. And they had the Buffalo River. That was like the sewage. Anyway.
Well, they've stepped it up. They do a great job now. And it's
they've got indoor plumbing in Arkansas now. Everything. But so, yeah, when you talk about some of the assets you have, aside from your businesses and your cars and your house and your kids and your wife and all that, this guy's got the best dog I've ever seen in my life.
How dog you got?
It does exactly what he tells it to do.
I know.
It's
obedience training. We sent this is 10 years ago, after a 30-day boot camp in Gravitt. I tell you, Eric, I highly recommend you take the dog. And
what's the name of this?
This was American Canine, a neat guy, Nick, from California. And man, this dog was dry. I thought I was a dog trainer, and I couldn't handle it. And then Lulu came back, just an angel, and walked her for years without a leash. And
it's unbelievable.
What kind of dog is it?
She's just a boxer mix from the pound. I mean,
really,
I've never seen anything like it. Rolf says, he goes, think about it. He goes, would you pay $350 a year to have a perfect dog? I'm like,
absolutely, because you will spend so much less than that.
Yeah, my dogs do $350 worth of damage.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I highly recommend professional dog training. So let's think about, but our assets are between our ears, right? That's what it is, and that's our biggest problem. That's our biggest liability, right?
Yep.
We all see the world differently, and we all, my mother-in-law used to say it's their own reality, and for years it drove me freaking nuts. I'm like, there is no individual reality.
There is.
Everybody, there's one reality, and boy, I was wrong. It is so
so
everybody's reality, and everyone's different. And yeah, there's some non-negotiables, right? Like gravity. Like you drop something,
right.
That's reality. A car wreck, that's a shared reality. But for the most part, our experiences are so different in how we perceive the world. And so I just decided to say, hey, this is my asset. What can I do?
Yeah.
And then I thought, what is the challenge of the pizza business? It's really, it's hyper competitive, and I'm one of 15 guys maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've made a nice living, nice life, no complaints for sure. But I'm like, well, what would I do if I could start over? And that's when I studied the science of category creation. That really, you want to create a new category. That's how you crush the world. Apple basically created the smartphone category.
Sure.
And they really weren't the very first, right? They weren't. but they created the category.
Used to dominate. I mean,
It was
we
sort
all
of a
have-
smart bone, sort of not. But
Yeah.
you see the category and go back. Apple's easy
I
to
thought that was-
love is like the smartwatch, right? They created that category.
Yep.
If you study it, Rees and Trout were really big on that. These authors, Jack Rees and Al Trout, and a lot of they're dead and their stuff is old, and so a lot of people won't listen to it. But
Right.
when they talk about, you can always create a new category, and that's when I said, boy, coffee's intriguing, soft drinks are intriguing, but how can you make sense of it? And I don't want to be one of 15 coffee shops.
Oh, we've got
Yeah.
so many.
I don't want
so
to
many
have
new
15
ones.
soda shops. And that's when, I hit upon, what if it was all the drinks? And so I used to not take branding very seriously. I've always been a salesman at heart, right? I could sell you vacuum cleaner if I had to, I'm sure. But with branding, we don't really have the time to listen to a sales pitch anymore, right?
Yeah.
It's all branding, and it's gotten more powerful, and I just ignored it. Eureka Pizza's been sloppily branded, but I decided with pop-up, man, we're going to go first class with branding.
You say that, but I mean, I think you really established a brand. I mean, you did have a different look. You were super aggressive on all types of advertising. You did some things differently from other people, which made it memorable. I think you had more of a brand than you think.
Well, I'm sure you're right.
Yeah.
But then maybe
you
that
didn't-
helped me.
But you didn't really strategically think about that. Before.
just-
No, I
It
didn't.
kinda
It was
evolved.
always, you'd go to a seminar and they'd just say brand's a waste of money. It's like the Goodyear blimp. Do you really want to have that thing fly over you? Are they really selling any tires?
Yeah.
It's like, is the local Goodyear dealer going, oh crap, the blimp's in town, I need to order more tires?
Right.
And I think the answer is probably they're not ordering more tires, right?
Right.
But that's one idea of branding, obviously. And so, but you have studied this, and this has been a big part of the planning that's leading up to pop-up.
Yeah, so a 3-year process. So I said, man, you get to do over in life, right? You don't get that very often. So what would you do differently, right? And I think a lot of us say things, but then we don't do it. I said, well, heck, I'm going to hire professionals, expensive professionals, and I'm going to get professional architecture and branding.
Yeah.
And that's hard for me to do because
Yep.
I'm an early Mac guy. I know enough about a few things that I can say, hey, I can pick colors, I can pick fonts. But
Yeah.
I hired Verdant Studios, and
Are they out here local?
yeah, they're here local. And it was a long process, but they did a great job. But really, they came up with the drink through word. And when they unveiled that to me, it was like the aha moment. I said, that's
great.
that's a category right there. And so we use it generically. So Rees and Trout, these authors, they have a funny thing. They say once you create a category, you almost want to encourage other people to join your category, which is usually, like pizza guys and hairdressers, we're catty. We drive by and we see,
the other guy.
yeah, Domino's box and your neighbor's recycling thing. You literally, for a moment, think, okay, how could I kill them and get away with it, right?
Bastard.
Because we think of it as a zero-sum game. And a lot of people think that way. And
I understand that. I was like that when I was younger. I'm not like that.
I've been there. I've been there.
Good though. Yeah. The guys, whenever you used to get that angry and you drive off anger for weeks.
Well, as you know, Eric, it's it's better not to, and that's when if you create the category and you're the first, there's a lot of advantages. So we decided how we're going to take all the drinks and create the drink through category, and so that's what we've done. We've leased land for the first time. That was an interesting experience, and then building a 700 square foot building took a year. Just some post-pandemic still
Prototype,
supply
though.
crunches, and
Yeah.
it took a while, but I think God had my back because I think our brand development, we needed this time. But I set up a full lab. Did you ever come see it, Mark?
No, I never did.
Yeah, it fell apart quickly after. In my building, I've got like some extra space, and a room was pretty small, like maybe 250 square feet, which was like the front of house of pop-up. So it was a perfect mock-up. So for 2 years, we had a soda fountain, an espresso machine, a frozen drink machine, and all the inventory. And we're able to do, motion studies and pacing and see how all
You're
this
looking at
works.
like
So-
Thurbligs.
Oh, we did some serious stuff. I gained a few pounds, a lot of delicious drinks, and that was fun.
I love the photos you show. I see like this beautiful green or blue drink with like the beads of condensation.
Oh, yeah,
coming
yeah.
up.
Man, I bet the kids are.
Oh man.
Oh, the
Like,
kids.
God, I want one of those.
So
Where's this thing at?
So we're at 2001 Southwest Regional Airport in Bright in Bentonville. So you're coming up from down south, you take a rainbow curve, and we're about a mile and a half down.
heading east.
Heading west. We're about a mile
okay.
from, there's a very busy McDonald's, Slim Chickens, and a Walmart.
Yeah.
And so luckily we had a light because, man, that's the key. You got to be on a light. And then they just extended Bright to the north, and it opened a week ago on today, on Friday.
Wow.
So we're excited about that. So we build this building and put a simple website up, but really showing the brand. You know, kind of radiate positivity. We've got a culture and a creed. We call our crew the cast, and our customers are guests. And so we were nervous because in pizza, in any fast food, any restaurant, you'll hear it's very hard to hire people, and it's absolutely true. Man, with pop-up, the applications came pouring in, and we did something funny. We said, we want a 1-minute video why you want to be a pop-up barista. And after watching like 2 of these, I said, I can't do this. It's like a teenager in their bedroom. But then we kept the requirement. And not all of them did it for sure. But and our position was, if you do it, you almost are going to get hired automatically because we want a people person.
Yeah.
So we realized at Eureka Pizza, we spend 80% of our time prepping and cleaning. I said, how can I flip that? I want 20% of my time prepping and cleaning. I want 80% of my time with my staff loving my customers, my guests.
That's awesome.
And we hired those kids. They're primarily kids. A lot of high schoolers, a lot of young adults in college, and a few older people are the ones that, came in. We had lots of training, a lot of fun, and we couldn't have done better. These are just the people. They're committed. They couldn't believe, first of all, we were a startup. When they heard that, they couldn't even believe it. They thought we were like the Starbucks chain of drinks that just happened to be in Bentonville finally.
Yeah, right.
You know what I love about what you're saying, Rolf, and Mark, you'll appreciate this. Customer or guest service, right? That attention to the people that are actually exchanging their hard-earned dollar for your service and your product, and that you have that as the top pillar. And how you hire the people that you came in, because you can't, it's hard to train that. Like, how do you train attitude?
You can't.
How do you hire out?
We've all been there, right?
Yeah, man.
You always heard you hire attitude.
Yeah, and train for skill.
Yeah,
it's true.
You can't, and honestly, it's true. The first thing I told them, you can go to Come and Go, get basically the same thing. So what are we doing different? What are we doing different?
Experience.
Yeah, you don't have like a sullen loser behind the counter who never recognizes you. It's different every time you come in. You
don't look at you in the eyes. Don't smile.
Yeah,
ask what do you want. I had somebody ask me the other day, "What do you want?" And I was about to buy. I'm like, man,
I know
this is the worst thing I've ever experienced. What do I want? What do you want?
Yeah,
y'all want my money? Y'all haven't come through much as a customer, but we came through.
In my life, no.
But that would be the store, right? If you could get that.
But if you're a young person, and I was lucky. I worked for some great entrepreneurs when I was young. Like this guy Don Humphreys from West Memphis is a chain of bike shops.
How they're doing now down in West Memphis?
I don't know. He's dead now. But anyway, we weren't in West Memphis. We were in St. Louis. But the opportunity for somebody young to work for a guy like Rolf and see how they're doing things. See, I mean, I think that's invaluable.
It might be. We do have a connection, and they see.
Yeah.
My wife was like, when she was like, they just love you. And I said, well, I love them. They're just the coolest kids.
That's great.
And they're going to be.
Because you love them.
Yeah.
You're not sitting around going, oh, shit, you can't hire anybody good. These young people won't work. That's all I hear out of people is this stereotyping, which is terrible.
Yeah.
Every generation says that about the generation that follows them.
They do.
You don't do that. You're positive on your people.
Well, I'm a Tom Sawyer. I'm a Tom Sawyer guy. So what I like to do, I go and start painting the fence, and they pitch in, and they even said we've never had a boss that actually did anything. I'm like, well, the boss doesn't like what you think, but I'm in there cleaning the toilet. I'm restocking the ice bins. I'm picking trash up off the floor. I'm mopping the floor, and setting a good example and teaching them how. And after a month, oh my gosh, it's all, I was in it yesterday. I just couldn't believe it. It was just all on autopilot. And they're just so enthusiastic.
Awesome.
They're dealing with our guests. They're happy and excited. But, we went through as a customer on Saturday. I think we're doing great. So we come through and I realize what we're selling. It is the experience, right? Sure. It's a great drink for sure. And so, so our pop-up is we're a drink through. So we've taken energy drinks, iced teas, both brands of soda. So if you're a soda fan, you don't have to go, oh, crap, Sonic doesn't have Mountain Dew.
Nobody does that.
Right? You got it all together.
Can you get?
I've had people that think it's illegal.
Soda.
I've had so many smart people go, how'd you do that? That has to be illegal.
Yeah.
Like, it's not illegal.
No one has.
You just ask. You
call
set it up that way.
them and they bring it to you.
Fantastic.
Then you tell them
that, don't you?
Yeah, and you can wait a minute. So you can get a Coke and a Pepsi.
Yeah,
at the same place.
Absolutely. It's
ingenious.
No, nobody's done that.
Then the best tip I got. So Frank Sharon, this guy is a legend in landscaping. He's the dean of landscaping.
Yeah, sure.
He did our landscaping. He shows up. Never met him. Great guy. big, tall guy, and he loves sodas. Like, oh, sodas, I love sodas. And he goes, you're going to turn the machines up, right? I'm like, what are you talking about? Well, you got to turn the machines up. So, that's what happens in soda. It's called the Brixing of it. You just add more syrup to the drink, so it's a richer Dr. Pepper. It's a richer, Coca-Cola. And I hadn't even thought about that.
So it's a better drink.
So I talked to my Coke friend, and he goes, our biggest problem is people turning down the machine to save money. And that's primarily why we test them. I said, well, I want to have, I think I'm selling a commodity, right?
Yeah.
A cup of Coke's as commoditized as you get.
My place.
Yeah, I'm going to have the best Coke ever. And so we turned up every machine 10%, and I have people rave. Like, we have all the fun ad-aids, but I have a lot of people, look, I just come because it's the best Dr. Pepper I've ever had. So that's
really
been fun.
beautiful.
And it's been fun taking a business, and every turn is like, how can we make it better for the guests? Well, it's awful easy in another business when it's more price-oriented. It's like, hey, can we make it pretty darn good, but how can we save a little money here? So with Pop-Up, just a different tax. So that's what we've done with these drinks. But it is fun just having a happy person take your order. We got the music playing. You come and you see them buzzing around like crazy. We've done an intensive study on tips. So there's a professor out of Cornell and a guy out of a university, I think in Ohio, that are the worldwide leading experts on tips. And Eric, if you ever can't sleep one night, pull this stuff up and just read academic papers on tipping. And the conclusions are pretty simple, like what you think, right? It's building rapport, it's all these things. But, we study in depth, and everything we could take, we did. Like, wearing red is typically 20% more in tips. So guess what? Our staff wears red.
Wow.
Starbucks only recently
They only recently
added tips.
You could tip on a card. This was like weeks ago, perhaps like months ago.
I know.
Can you believe that?
It's unbelievable.
Unbelievable. And people want to tip. That's the thing Sonic said when they made it easy to tip on a card. They said our customers were demanding it, and more than their employees were.
And all their workers, then you can get a completely different level of worker because they can make some money.
Man, it changes everything.
And they'll stick around too. The retention's skyrocket. Because if you're making good money somewhere, you don't want to.
I don't think I've lost anybody at Pop-Up. I mean, they love their job.
Really incredible.
Yeah, so then we made it easy with our handhelds that when you tap the card, studies show you tip more. So, we've made that easy, and so it's just a fun. And then they also, another thing, you need to be worthy of the tip. So that's why you want to work publicly. So we try to open it up as much as possible where you could see what we're doing. So you say, okay, you tip before you see that, but you come there, oh my gosh, these kids are working hard. Then you're like, I'm glad I tipped. And then when you come back through again, often hours later, which is crazy in this business, you feel good about tipping again.
Well, Seven Brew does that. Their people are outside.
They've been really good at
place. I think they're a good model in that sense too.
No, they've been great.
Yeah. But they don't sell everything that you do. So
do you have a scaled plan? What's your next ambitions? Are you going to take this, replicate it?
Absolutely. So that's why it took me 3 years. This has all been built around replication, Eric.
Good.
So everything we've done is around replication. And so like that 80-20, we're 20% cleaning and prep, 80%, doing with our guests. That's been built to replicate, and we had to support that with software and with systems to make that possible. And so we try to prep as little as possible because we want to be able to buy it, and we'll spend more money in order to make it easy for our baristas so they can do what they do best. And we hire these, the baristas that love people, and they don't want to follow 18-page thing on how to make, something that they want to just be with people.
So are you planning on franchising it out, or are you going to?
Yeah, it's all built to be franchised.
Okay.
So we've tried to build great margins in so we continue to pay people more than the industry average.
Yeah.
And plus we have the tip component, and then plus we have room for a franchisee can do great. So it's going to take an expensive location, but Verdon designed a great building for me. It was stick built and it was painful. I have had a company design a modular build, and that's what we're looking at probably doing in the future, where we can build it quickly and bring it on site, like in 2 pieces.
You talked about in the beginning about you leased the dirt basically, right? But you come in, and so you want to make it modular where you can go out, lease dirt, and then put your building on there, have you up and operational as fast as possible.
In months, and let's say 3 or 4 months instead of 12 or 18 months. Now, I don't think you could just yank it off and move on if you didn't like it. And what I think the industry's going that you need
too much site
work, and you really need. This started on the West Coast, and they called it the party in the parking lot. They just set up in a parking lot. Well, you really need a full fast food pad now. we leased a half acre. And now with cell phone data, everybody's tracked on their cell phone, so you can do lookalikes. You can see, let's say, Starbucks or a McDonald's or a Sonic, and you can find exactly like where their customers are, where they go before and after, which is kind of interesting. And then you can find lookalike sites. And so it's never been easier to find a great site, but it's expensive. And that's why leasing land makes sense, because let's say a $2 million site you lease for $5,000 a month. Well, you can build 3 restaurants for every one you own. And so most of these things, and you'll see, virtually every Walgreens is on leased land. Every Starbucks is on leased land.
So that's why they do that, right? Because, I mean, they're not trying to.
In the real estate business, yeah.
Yeah.
Where do you make your money? And you see these cap rates in real estate now with interest rates going up. You'll see like a Starbucks deal for like a 5% cap rate. Well, that's prime interest rate is 8%, right? So
it's not
it's a tough one.
Yeah.
And you can see why would they want to be in the real estate business when they can make these great earnings from selling drinks.
It has been, though, a classic wealth building strategy for a lot of people that have businesses like this. It's just you pay for it over time, even if you don't make a lot of money. If I got 20 of them, I end up with 20 sites.
The wealth building on owning the real estate, or
real estate. It has been, but you make a lot of sense. Is there any concern that the modular concept won't be allowed due to local zoning building?
That's a great question, man.
That's something.
There's some tough with Bentonville.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah.
You say they think trailer.
Well, they wouldn't allow the color red really on our building. It could only be 20% of our building. And get this, and I quote, because red is a color that doesn't exist in nature. And I'm like, well, the sunset. I just
you ever see the cardinal?
The beautiful cardinal and the azalea. And then you want to get Shakespearean, the rose. It is funny. Bentonville's a very, very hard city to get anything done. But their modular building people are very familiar with, okay, you want brick, baby, we'll give you brick. So they're just able to put the finishes on that other cities want. But going back to that real estate comment, definitely for listeners here and viewers, and at the end of the day, man, you got a restaurant. It's true that you use restaurant at 10 cents on the dollar if you're lucky.
Sure.
And I think your wealth is your real estate. But if you do have a hot concept, the way you grow is through leasing the property.
Yeah, through operation.
Yeah, you can do it so much faster, right? It's about speed.
It's
capital.
Yeah. But it is difficult because normally you own the land and then you get a loan to build your building. Well, if you don't own the land, that's very hard to achieve. So you do have to be more clever about, I just put cash into this.
Yeah.
And I don't have the ability to do that for multiple locations. And most people wouldn't have that. But it is different, but it is shocking. I mean, what do they say? 80%, 90% of the cars on the road are financed or leased.
Yeah.
And so when you see the guy driving by the big car, you're jealous of him. I always tell my wife, man, they're making 8-year payments on that thing. Right. They don't own that thing, right?
Yeah.
And once you realize that, it just changes your view of society. That it's just not as it's not as what it seems.
And the other thing is, you can find developers who will build a pop-up for somebody in its entirety. If they got a modular building and a site, they'll provide all that. You
Walgreens developers,
nice developers, lease. They know they can get the money. You put nothing into it as a franchise owner. You get exactly what you want.
That's exactly how it works.
And that's how it's done.
Everybody's taking their own risk in a certain pocket of this, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And everybody kind of benefits in their own way.
It gets people doing what they do best.
That's right.
See, what is that? You do what you do best and let others do the rest. That took me a long time to. I heard that. It's kind of a throwaway term, but once you really realize that, it's kind of a game changer.
Well, I just love this concept. I can see that it's inherent. It should be profitable. If you look at a restaurant, one of the things they make the most money on is the drinks.
Right.
Let's face it. I mean, if I go to a pizza restaurant and I pay $10 for a pizza and then I pay $3 for my drink.
Yep.
Which one's got more cost in it as a percentage of revenue?
Our margins are great. It is a big capital investment, and
sure.
That's the play.
Right. But I love the idea.
But really, in building the experience, and it really fits my personality, right? I think I've always been a positive thinker.
Yep.
And it's been fun creating this brand, and then I've dealt with tight margins my whole career.
Sure.
And so it is fun suddenly having good margins, and then you can give back. Like we've already had, get this, after a month we have 4,800 people in our loyalty program. Can you imagine 4,800? And so now we can have a great loyalty program. We have a 10%. So you come in and buy a $5 drink, you get 50 cents credit that you can spend immediately or let it roll. And you wouldn't believe people love letting it roll.
Sure.
And my joke is you can pay your kids, tuition on their pop-up points, right? But they'll come in and say, man, we got a lady with 400 points already. She spent $400 at pop-up. And we're like, would you like to use your points? You got $40
in a month
to buy a drink. He's like, no, that's fine.
in a month.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, so it's fun to be able to do those things, which, when you're on super low prices, like, Walmart doesn't have a rewards program, right? Because they have everyday low pricing. So it is kind of fun to give back to the customer, and customers want you to do well, actually. That's what's another fun thing is I think a lot of people think it's adversarial and customers is just like that zero-sum game, like when you see
I never thought like that, but I think you're right.
Yeah, it's common. Like you see a hairdresser, they see somebody come in, I didn't cut your hair, oh my gosh, I'm going to be bankrupt next week. And the world doesn't work that way for sure.
Yeah.
But it's easy to fall into that poverty mindset, which I think is very destructive.
What I love about it is I think that the macro market has changed as far as the customers, consumers these days and how they're thinking. And, the value of their time and experience is just as important, maybe even more important than just the dollar itself, right?
Eric, you said it. They value, their time is more valuable than money.
And then to go to somewhere that's resembling and reflecting their reality of life, right? And so, being able to do that is just, like I watch thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. But I watch my daughters, right? They're 15, 16, 17-year-olds. And the way that they make decisions is completely different than what we did when we were young, or at least it was when I was more dollar conscious. But they will go without buying other things just so that they can have that experience and do something that they actually believe in and that they like being there, And so I think you're hitting on the head.
Yeah, we've seen that. And then it's interesting, like women really don't like convenience stores. And think about what's happened to the convenience store. It's gotten so much better, right?
Yeah.
And they're big and beautiful and take pride in their bathrooms. But observe one,
Seedy people.
Yeah, now locally, women really don't seem to use locally to go to the restaurant. They will figure out a way not to.
Oh, that's so true.
When you're on a trip, they're going to do. They will
do whatever they got to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And often that could be a fast food restaurant too. But it is interesting. So our customer base at Pop-Up is overwhelmingly female, and
that's
it's interesting, pretty upscale, and then price isn't a concern, and we get mainly compliments that I can't believe how cheap everything is, which of course we weren't sure how people would feel. So
you're mainly a drive-through. I just make sure
we're drink-through. So we have a double drive-through. No, we do have a pop-in window.
Use the
language. And it is interesting.
What does that mean? Like you can walk up to it?
We got a couple picnic tables, and it's kind of a nice environment. It faces west, so hopefully it'll be warm soon, right? We get some sunshine.
Yeah.
That's been busy, but it is interesting if they feel the line is too slow, and I feel like our line moves too fast because we're fast, and I think sometimes we're almost too fast. And I think people, they don't mind the Chick-fil-A line because they get to do what's their favorite thing to do, right? Is to play on their phone.
Yeah, right.
And that's what they do is fast.
They are fast.
They're 2.5 times faster than the normal, line. So, but
we have noticed if they'll slowly come to the pop-in window. So let's say you have 2 lanes and you have 1 lane closed.
Right.
As soon as you do that, I'm like, it's not going to slow anything down because then they park their car and come to the pop-in window. So
sure.
But luckily, we've been staffed adequately, and a few binds. After church, all my kids go to church. That's another thing, hiring these great kids. And so we get to a bind right after church because most of my employees, and that's when I'm a Wednesday church guy, so I'm a Sunday pop-up guy because we have that bind of just hiring all these kids that are churchgoers, and so we get into a bind. But anyway, it is kind of interesting, the flows, and the pop-in window can be hard to manage, so we're learning those things too. We wish we had a door there now. In Bentonville, I think it's the windiest town in America. I feel like I'm in Kansas. We get this howling winds right through our window. Due west, and we're facing due west that window.
All the foothills don't exist there, right?
Yeah, it's just flatter.
It's flat.
Yeah,
coming straight west from Oklahoma.
We have stickers that we stick on the cup with each order, and we have them all lined up. And I'm like, my gosh, if these weren't sticky, they'd be gone. This would be gone.
What? So I'm curious. You were so innovative with your marketing, with Eureka Pizza, with your give up 1,000 pizzas away if the Razorbacks beat Alabama and all that stuff. What are your plans? What outrageous PR?
Man, it's been a lesson for me. Well, my study in branding. I'm a salesman, right? I'm just a salesman. I want to sell something.
Yeah.
Well, when you say you're better, what's the first thing you think? You think, well, you're not.
Or you're not, yeah.
And then you waste your time. You quit listening to me, and now you're thinking of all the ways that this product isn't better.
Right.
And so that's really a fundamental mistake I've made my whole career. So you never say you're better. So we never say we're better. We say we're pop-up. We have an iced tea. Well, we're not going to say it's the best iced tea ever. Our ice, we have that chewable ice that everybody loves.
Oh, yeah.
Which is awesome
That's
because
Sonic Ice.
some people call it Sonic Ice.
Yeah,
We call it Nugget Ice.
Is there plastic embedded in that stuff? I mean, it lasts so long. I could get one of those drinks and sits out in the sun for 5 hours, and I go
See,
back to it.
so
It's
this
still
was
got ice.
this was remarkable.
You would think
So
be right.
it's a more expensive machine that wears out because it forms the ice and grinds it and compresses it. So there's a lot more things going on.
Why it's
But you know what it is? It does melt slower. It's counterintuitive.
Yes.
And so it's really a game
believe
changer for coffee. And so we weren't sure of that because we said we got to have this ice, but you don't hear any coffee place doing it. So we were scared. And so luckily you can buy Sonic Ice. So we bought a lot of their ice and we tested with coffee. We're like, oh my gosh, this is working. And then, we had to go and do a deep dive.
Iced coffee drink.
Iced coffee,
yeah.
and that's,
Of course, the
Starbucks,
kids love
anybody,
it.
that's 80%. That's almost of the business.
Yeah, that's all about, yeah.
So when we dove into it, we found a coffee shop in LA a couple years ago. They did an April Fool's stunt where they said, we're getting rid of these Nugget Ice machines. People went crazy. And I said, oh my gosh, this is a benefit for coffee. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, people love the ice. But we never say it's the best ice. We say our ice is nice and just leave it at that. So that's one of my changes. So really, we think the very Instagrammable building. So that's what we've tried to do. We have an Instagram throne, one of those big red chairs that is the side of a lot of pictures. It's fun. And so really, we're just trying to draw people in that it's fun. We do a lot of sampling. We give away free drinks. We don't really do any discounts, which is hard for me. But
Good.
we do free, but not discounts, and it has been good.
You love discounting, right?
Well, that's the problem with Eureka Pizza. I just have all these people that love me, but won't come in unless it's a sale, right? And we all, how that feels, right?
Slope.
It's
Once
a slippery
you go down
slope.
it,
It's
you
for sure.
can't go back, pull yourself back out of it. I mean, that's always been one of my complaints with my students is when they work with area businesses, the first thing they want to do is discount.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, dudes, if you figure out how many more you have to sell at that price to make what you would have made selling one at its regular price, you might rethink that.
Yeah, so we like differentiate ourselves. So, for instance, we have really the only guys doing an energy shot. So we worked with a company in Central Arkansas. We developed our own energy drink called Rev Up, and it's spectacular. And then we have a frozen version. And we do
put that in anything, right?
Well, the energy shot you can. So we have 3 energy products we get. We get our carbonated Rev Up that we serve on tap. So it's kind of neat. So instead of serving little cans, can you imagine what that cost, expense, and the waste involved? And one thing, we were not really thinking people wanted to hear that it was on tap, that it was a can. And then as we're touring our staff around, we hired them. We told them it's on tap and we don't have to throw away cans. And they were just like, oh my gosh, why doesn't everybody do this?
It's greener.
So
because they love sustainability.
Yeah. So each container of Rev Up, it's 489 cans of
Fantastic.
whatever red brand it is. And so, and we were able, they
You shall
always
not
feel,
speak their name.
yeah, they put too much caramel color in these drinks. So they're really dark and kind of no fun. And so we took
like
a lot of the caramel color off and made it fun so we can add all the fun Torani flavors. And then we realized if you look on a can, it says lightly carbonated, and that's pretty common. And then with our tap system, it's extra carbonated. So that was interesting. The first thing customers says, oh my gosh, this thing stays fizzy the whole time. And then you realize that's half the benefit of an energy drink. You have the taurine, which is an amino acid. You've got caffeine, a lot of it. And then you've got B vitamins. But then that zippy carbonation is like really another component. So, and then you search, nobody's ever positioned an energy drink to be extra carbonated. So we have the world's first extra carbonated energy drink.
He is so innovative.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? But the thing about Rolf, and I think all of us will agree, anybody who's really going to be successful at something has to be freaking obsessed with it.
Yeah, we are obsessed. So my energy shot, so that's the next one. So we've distilled it down to 1 ounce is 80 milligrams of caffeine, your B vitamins, and taurine. So that's basically an 8-ounce energy drink. And so you could add that. And when I tell people a caffeinated Sprite, you wouldn't believe the smiles I get. So that
caffeinated Sprite.
And you could do it because it's not dark then. Doesn't ruin the Sprite light.
Absolutely. We get little old ladies that come in and get energy shots in their drinks. You wouldn't believe this thing is a game changer.
Rolf, I've never had an energy
I'll
shot.
show you. I actually have my car. I might give you a bottle.
I'm
we are
afraid
selling
to drink this stuff.
It is so popular and it's fun. And you can. So I drink green tea, And in the afternoon, I'll add a shot of energy to it.
Uh-huh.
I always you drink the pot of coffee in the morning and no more.
Yeah.
And now, man, the afternoon
exactly like
caffeine.
Loving it?
I love it beyond belief. And then when it's time to go to bed, it does not affect me, but it is a game changer. I can see the popularity of energy drinks. And I find, Rev Up is awesome, but man, just popping it into, and I love sparkling water. They say you might be, they always say the guy that likes gin or sparkling water is a psychopath. And I do have kind of
I love
taste buds like that. So I drink the plain sparkling water.
You guys are scaring me.
No, I was going through a 6-pack of bubbly a few months ago, and I was on it for like a year of 6-pack of bubbly a night. I'm like, I was like, I gotta kind of tone this down a little bit.
It's good stuff.
Yeah, man. It's legit.
Ours is extra carbonated at pop-up, Eric, so you have to come
I have
through.
to come check that out.
It's just the innovation at every single corner. I mean, this is what entrepreneurship is all about.
Well, what I like, on the innovation too, what I notice that you do a lot, just from this conversation, is like you find these little micro gaps.
Differentiators. Yeah.
I mean, you might stumble upon them, which it sounds like
We've stumbled on every single one.
But you recognize it, and then you go get right, and you don't waste time. You don't have to. Like, I know you did a lot of strategy with the branding. You took your time with that. That's different. But with these little gaps, like, you're on them, and you just start developing it out, and it becomes a product, and you can kind of test and see how people are receiving it, and you just keep going.
Yeah, we did a thing last Tuesday with Zeta Tau Alpha sorority. So one of the members that helped me out previously, kind of as an intern, and she got us in on a coffee gig in October for Chicken Finger Friday when they do these kind of fun things. We brought our drinks, and they said, "Can you come back for finals?" And I said, "Well, it's kind of hard to travel with this stuff, but let me bring coffee drinks and energy drinks for 250 girls." Mm-hmm. So we show up, and we've got our energy drink, and then we have the soft top, pop top soft cream that we can put on top of the energy drink, which is really fun. And with that sippy lid, you get that nice cream in the energy drink. And then we brought our Level Up energy shot. And so you wouldn't believe, I swear, 80% wanted the energy shot. And I had two of my baristas with me, and I told them, this was Tuesday of finals, I said, well, if we add that to this, it basically equals 3 energy drinks or Red Bulls, what's in your drink. Mm-hmm. And Lindy's was going to elbow me and said, "Don't say that, Rolf. That's going to scare them off." And then, I couldn't resist, so I kept saying it. Then I realized it was a benefit, and that's what every one of them wanted it. And that's when we came back and said, we're going to start really pushing this energy shot. And so we started Wild Wednesday, where you can get a free extra espresso shot or a free extra energy shot in any big drink. So we call our largest bigs, and you wouldn't believe the popularity of that. We're mowing through this energy shot now.
Thank God somebody is a nomenclature sizing system that makes sense.
I know.
It's always angered me.
Have you ever been to the green, what they say, the Jolly Green Giant? What the heck is that, right? I don't even know what it is, and I'm in the coffee business.
It's so annoying. I've got to think for a minute now. What's the medium called again? Grande? What is it?
I got tall
grande and
venti.
Venti.
And then there's one that's bigger than venti now. I don't know what to call it.
It's
my
just
daughter told me what
annoying.
She gets
big. I can understand.
I know you're tight, Mark. So they say 80% comply, and they always say the word, and then people like you, I want a medium, and they know you're one of those guys. Yeah, well, I'm one of those guys too, so I admire that.
So you got, what are the sizes? You got big. That's the biggest, right?
And then medium,
okay,
and then small.
Oh my God! I can do it. I can go and order now.
I know
without
feeling like I'm stupid.
Well, and getting them pissed off about how stupid you are.
The judgment of the barista back there.
The industry has had judgy baristas.
Oh,
that's one thing we've really worked at. And barista actually means bartender in Italian. So I mean, come on, you take the funnest word, and it's become kind of a scold, right?
Yep.
I'm not really a fun person, but.
We had one at the Starbucks on campus right next to your Eureka Pizza. He was so judgy and it was so awful. And I got to where I just did, if that guy was in there, I did not want to go in there.
Yeah.
Man, that place really inspired me. So we'd been next to Starbucks for 3 years, and we'd watch in the morning. Customers will line up, primarily females, with their phones looking at their drinks they were going to order.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm like, I want to be in this business, right? Mm. And so now at Pop-Up, it's the same thing. And so we just released our secret menu, right, of all our secret drinks. And man, part of my staff fought with me, said, no, we got to dribble it out. I said, how can you dribble it out? You just got to do it. Mm. And then I just we don't even make an announcement. And they're just like, they ordered all these weird drinks, Rolf. It's all off the secret menu. Then they're like, everybody's got the phone in their car at the secret menu scrolling through and deciding what they're going to order. It's just so fun to see this immediately kind of happening.
We are going to say that we knew this guy.
Yeah, man.
Right?
Yeah.
when he's
when he gets big, he has to come back to big talk about small business.
Absolutely.
And then share on his Instagram.
It'll be big talk about big business by then.
Man. Well, be here as a treat. You guys are awesome. And I know the listeners and viewers are the best there are. And I do just, what a world we live in. Zig Ziglar called it Dashboard University. If you're not listening to a success tape in your car on your commute, you're nuts.
Yep, I agree.
And that's my thing. You know, now I live in Fayetteville, so driving to Bentonville every day, man, it's an audiobook or a podcast.
That's great, man. And just keep, I do the same thing. I drive it in my head all the time. I've actually been listening to Zig Ziglar again.
Oh, he's
what's the...
at the top.
That's it. That's the one that I'm listening to, actually. I've listened to that over and over again.
40 years ago.
You know, the one I'll always listen to over again is Think and Grow Rich.
Oh, my dad made us all read that book when we were kids.
Genius. I mean, my daughter.
That and Excellence by John Gardner. Those were the two.
Think and Grow Rich, man.
Napoleon Hill.
Yeah.
Dude, I actually I have it written down. I created a life book that has those principles of formula for success, the 7 basic fears. Yeah.
You did it. You did it all, though.
Well, yeah, but I mean, and you know what's crazy? Here's what's crazy. I did it 2 years before we sold our company, and we sold for exactly what I wrote down that I wanted to sell for. Bro,
I tell you,
I love it.
You know, and I mean, it was amazing on how it all worked out. I mean, absolutely amazing.
It doesn't. It's not going to work out unless you can visualize it in your mind.
No, you have to believe.
You got to believe. You know, and it's like everybody's. You know, if you can sit around and be depressed about a million different things, but everywhere I go and every single day I see a new opportunity.
Yep.
My problem is, which ones do I want to go after?
That's it.
There's just so many out there.
Your problem is time.
Okay, but every time I shed something I don't want to do, 5 good things fill up the time.
And what a better way to see life. You know, it's, for you guys who want something simple, it's basically a pamphlet. It's Thoughts Are Things by James Allen. Have you ever Google that? It's a free ebook. This guy lived 100 plus years ago. But just says, thoughts are things, that's how we manifest things. And it's you think it's kind of woo-y and foo-foo stuff. But, Papa began with the idea. I said, I know a lot from the pizza business. It seems like I should be in another direction. What do I do? And then when I left yesterday, oh my gosh, I was going to my high school daughter's graduation, so I just felt like $1 million.
Yeah.
And I leave, and I have to carefully pick through. My drive-through was totally packed, and they're whizzing through. It's like a 4-minute trip through. I'm like, this is unbelievable.
Great.
All these kids are just happy as clams. They're making these perfect drinks, and they're correcting each other, and they're wiping each cup carefully, all as taught. So,
awesome.
Thoughts are things, man. It all starts here between the ears.
No, Rolf, what I like about what you're saying, too, is like, as advanced as our world continues to get, the opportunities are really actually magnified. I mean, but it can be a little intimidating. But I love reading history and entrepreneurial history. I got Cornelius Vanderbilt to Walton, to all of them, right? And the best book I've ever read in my life is American Entrepreneur. And there's specific authors. I can't remember which ones. I'll have to bring that up at some point. But it goes through the history of American entrepreneurism and in that storyline through all entrepreneurs have taken that risk.
Yeah.
It defines what an entrepreneur is, which I love it.
Sure.
The entrepreneur has to take that risk, but that same common thread of people, basically the fallbacks that they come through and the way that they overcome, but they all have to believe in what they're doing. And so as advanced as things get, and what you're doing is exactly thread. It. Yeah, but you believe in what you're doing. You got the vision. You go for it, right? And you continue to inspire the generation younger than us, which I would love to, if we can, have a little bit more conversation about that, because I think what you said earlier was so apparently, successful, and that we have to remind ourselves is that when we were young, we just wanted somebody to help, to be an apprentice to. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're in your teens and you're looking at a world that's as complex as it is today.
Sure.
But you can have somebody that can help teach you, because you don't want to ask, right? You don't know where to get it, but you get inspired. And so these young folks are watching you come in, right? and you're guiding them in ways, and that gives them the confidence, just like what I needed when I was young.
Sure.
I needed somebody to lean on.
That's what I love about teaching.
Yeah.
You get to do it every day.
To me, it's the best job I ever had. Not from the money I make, of course, but the reward of the relationships, and then seeing what these people do over time.
And it'll never.
It's fantastic.
Mark, I got folks that work for me at White Spider, not for me, but for the company, that you have been their professor, right? And they come in and they know Mark, and they have so much appreciation because you satisfied a longing that they need, and they have, like we had when we were young. We don't forget our mentors from when we were young, do we? One of the professors that helped us out the most.
I just heard from one of my professors. I was TA in his class. Worked for him 44 years ago. Sent me an email last night telling me how much he loved my book, and it was just so
awesome. How'd that make you feel? You feel like you did?
It really was great. But yeah, there's so much opportunity out there. We all need mentors. I did think it was interesting that Rolf said one of his motivators when he was young is they had stuff, but they didn't have everything they wanted.
Yeah.
That's the way I grew up. Exactly.
Yeah. My dad, you can't afford that. We can't go to dinner.
Yeah.
Man, let's go to dinner after church. I can't afford that.
Yep.
You know, I mean, I just remember them going out to buy a new Nova in 1969. My mom was going to get a 6-cylinder with a 3 on the column, and they instead sprung for a Malibu with a 307 V8 and Power Glide. And that was like a big deal, okay? We're going to spend the extra $150, $200. You know what I mean? I thought to myself, I don't want to live like that. I mean, they never had any debt. You know, we had everything we needed, but like we didn't go out to eat. We didn't go on big vacations. No, we didn't do any of that.
Exactly.
Yep.
And it is a motivator. You know, I think for a lot of us, it's just feeling like we want to transcend whatever it is, you know, that we came from. We respect that. We appreciate that. I think one of the biggest problems today for people like us is we have a certain affluence. And how do you imbue that quality in your children when basically they do get everything they want? And we do go out to eat all the time. You know, my 12-year-old's like, my friend's going to Florida. Can I go with her? And, you know, the grandma calls me and it's like, yeah, you know, I got to buy a plane ticket for her. You know, just it never would have happened in my household in a million years. You know,
it's funny watching our kids. So I've got a $5.29 for each kid. That's kind of pretty common.
Yeah.
And I just said, look, I don't even want to micromanage it. This is like basically your money, and just deal with it. And they had been so amazing.
That's good that you did that.
Yeah,
I never did that.
And then my daughter she's really wanted to travel. I want to go to Vermont. I want to go here. And then she looked at the dollars and she said, man, I'm going to Arkansas. I was just like, not even a consideration. So, it is possible. But my youngest son, he's definitely got a different attitude about life and money. And
right.
Yeah. So
somehow my 2 older girls, they developed it all on their own. And I have, you know, they are completely independent and both very, very good with their money. But I do worry about it with the younger ones.
Well, I tell you, my staff at Pop-Up, they're all capitalists. And they're all reading the tipping tips, and they're working on it, and they want to get tipped, and they want to provide good service. They want money, and yet they drive nicer cars than me, right?
I know. I got a student. I just saw him the other day in his G-Wagon. I'm like, I just bought my wife a 1-year-old Audi Q5. You know, it's probably like a third of the cost of that G-Wagon. But anyway, so yeah, just out of curiosity, how much money can these baristas make at Pop-Up? And I'm not going to hold you to it.
So right now we're overstaffed, which is kind of weird. And we think with summer coming very soon and heat coming, we're going to be glad we did. And we've decided, I've decided this is an experiment.
Sure.
And so instead of being the ruthless restaurateur that I've been for my whole life, I'm like, let's just kind of pan out. We're kind of trimming labor, but we're not cutting. So they make, we started $12 an hour, which is $1 over the Arkansas minimum.
Okay.
And then I think it's pretty much $5 an hour right now, but I think as we normalize labor, it's going to get close to the $10 an hour range.
The tips.
It's a tip pool.
It's in addition to the 12.
Yeah. So it's a daily tip pool, and it's paid through their paycheck.
Yeah.
And so,
So $17 an hour, basically.
Yeah, that's what they're making right now.
Yeah. And they can do better.
Yeah, they can do better, and so they love it.
So when you say pool, you mean you aggregate all the tips?
Yeah, for the day, so you don't, if you're there at 5:30 in the morning or 10 o'clock at night, you're still in that. It's a daily pool.
Okay.
And then we thought it would be an all credit business, card business, but we're getting a surprising amount of cash, which is we weren't set up for that, so we're having to add some cash drawers and be better cash managers. But we actually make a tip deposit every day, so the cash tips get deposited in.
That's good.
And then our software, we use Toast. And we have a lot of integrations with Toast, which has been pretty cool. But so, yeah, it just goes on their check.
Awesome.
And so it's all taxed. But it's a very simple. So they don't go along with cash like some places. But they make good money and they love their job. So it's perfect.
Awesome,
God love you, buddy. I'm so proud of you, and I'm so
Well, thank you. It's been fun for sure. And it's been fun. And talking to you guys has been fun.
I've been definitely inspired to the combo. I mean, what I appreciate too is that you're trying new things that you did not do in your previous entrepreneurial journey, which I think is cool because I'm kind of been doing the same thing on some of the things I'm doing. It gives me more confidence about what I'm thinking in my brain too.
It's really funny you say that. I just had a conversation with my HVAC guy the other day. He sold his company like 5 years ago, okay? And he had a non-compete that he had to let wear out.
Yeah.
Well, as soon as that was over, he started up again. He's already bigger than he was the first time. And he said, having that second opportunity to not make the same mistakes I made has been pivotal. It's like building the same house twice.
You just said pivotal. No, you didn't. Hey, man.
It's pivotal is not the same thing as pivoting, okay?
It's almost professorial too with
Thank
pivotal.
God you guys did not use a single cliche that I'm aware of.
We have not, have we?
Conversation.
Oh boy, that is something.
Your comment with pivotals going into blooper reels. Just FYI.
But then again, I'm here with real entrepreneurs and not coffee shop.
I will make a quick comment about that. When you young kids, they all think it's like a Shark Tank, like capital raise. I'm like, it doesn't really work that way. And then they want to throw buzzwords out everywhere. And yeah, you're right. I haven't used a buzzword. I don't think anybody has.
Yeah. That's funny. I was going to actually ask the question. I was like, so how many spreadsheets and how many pitch decks have you presented and gone around for investors to start this?
Not a one.
No, look, I'm actually creating one right now for a business that I'm involved with, but it's not the same thing as a startup. It's an 11-year-old company, okay? It's got a proven
second stage growth.
Right. It's got a proven model. It grows by 25% and it makes a modest profit, not a great profit. That's a totally different thing. Then you're in the driver's seat,
right?
As opposed to, here's my idea. You give me all the money. What's your business then? That's been my thing. I'm like, they're going to tell you how to do everything. If they're giving you all the money, forget your vision. You're not going to be able to implement it. You'll be working for the man right away.
The golden rule comes true. They own the business.
That's right.
He or she who has the golden rules.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good one.
But anyway, well, listen, guys, it's been great.
That's been fun.
Talking today.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the invitation. This has been awesome.
Let's do it again. Rolf can come back.
Yeah.
You're the host. I mean,
I'll bring drinks next time.
All right. All right. Well, thanks, everybody, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Big Talk About Small Business. If you have any questions or ideas for upcoming shows, be sure to head over to our website, www.bigtalkaboutsmallbusiness.com, and click on the Ask the Host button for the chance to have your questions answered on the show. Stay connected with us on LinkedIn at Big Talk About Small Business. And be sure to head over to our website to read articles, browse episodes, and ask questions about upcoming shows.